Welcome back to our pitch lecture, and this is part two. So, picking up where we left off, pitch and its role, just a little refresher. Pitch is one of the essential components of music. And I ask, what are the other essential components of music? What has to exist for it to be music? Arguably, rhythm has to exist, right? Um, Dynamics are just going to be a natural phenomenon, right? Sometimes sounds are soft, sometimes sounds are loud. But pitch is definitely one of the components here. Now, can we have music without pitch? That's arguable. I would argue yes, because I think rhythm is above all the most important of the elements. But other people would say no, but I would ask them, what about percussionists? There are percussionists out here that perform without any other sort of pitched instruments. So, there you go. But by and large, pitch is very important. And just driving that point home that every song you've ever heard is made up of the same 12 pitches. Now, I say that from a very American perspective. There is a chance that maybe you grew up in a different culture. A lot of Eastern cultures use different scales than Western cultures. So if you grew up in, let's say, Russia or Serbia, you may be more used to a scale that has some microtones in it. If you grew up in India, Indonesia, any of those places, you may be used to a lot more microtones. If you grew up in Asia, Japan, China, Korea's, any of those regions, there's a lot of microtones singing in those cultures. And to Western ears, it sounds out of tune, but that's because we are so conditioned to the 12-tone system that has been standardized for hundreds of years for us. All right, now pitches have relationships, and they're not dysfunctional. That was a joke. But their relationships are described as intervals. Okay, so an interval is the distance between two notes, between two pitches, to be more precise. And there are harmonic intervals and there are melodic intervals. So harmonic intervals means that you're hearing two pitches at the same time. Now remember, intervals is a two-pitch relationship, okay? We're not talking chords. Chords are made up of intervals, but we look at it in terms of one pitch to the next pitch, okay? So intervals are always a two-pitch relationship. So let's say you go to a piano and you put your thumb on C and your third finger on E and you push them down at the same time. You've just played the interval of a third. Okay? Then there are the melodic intervals where we go from pitch to pitch in succession. So let's say I put my thumb on C and I go up my 5 fingers. So I go C, D, E, F, G, and I play them one after another in succession. I just played a melodic interval, melodic seconds would be the proper way to say it. So from C to D is a second, D to E is a second, E to F is a second, F to G is a second. Okay? And those aren't enough to create music because you could just randomly play intervals and people would say, is that really music? Okay, so we have to be careful what we do. So here's your handy little dandy chart here that describes what they are. And we are just going to live in the perfect world of unisons through sevenths. The octave would be the eighth, so I don't even list it on here, but that's where C to C is an octave, so it's an eighth. A to A, B to B, those would all be octave relationships. Now, each interval actually has a quality, but we're not going to get into the discussion of the quality of an interval right now because you don't need that for this class. All right, so pitches, intervals, and scales. All Western music has the availability of these 12 pitches. Okay, and this is common practice music. You get into more modern music and things are a little bit different now. But most music is comprised of select scales. So essentially the scales that we're most familiar with and that you are most familiar with are the major and minor scales that we're going to talk about a little bit more coming up here in just a second. And so that's basically where we have a set of rules to extract 8 pitches out of the 12 and create a scale. The 8th pitch is the octave. Okay, so if we're doing a C major scale, pitch number 8 would be where C repeats. Okay, so if you prefer to think of it as 7 distinct pitches, that's fine. Okay, and you're extremely sensitive to keys. Okay, So when we pick a scale, like let's say A flat major, and we write a song that's in A flat major, you, the listener, may not be aware that it's in A flat major. But if I play a song that's in A flat major, and then for some reason I play a note that is not an A flat major, you, just being a casual listener who is like, I don't read a lick of music, I don't know anything about music, you would know I played something wrong. And you would say, hold on, something's not right here. So let me just try to demonstrate this really quickly on my piano. I don't know how well this will pick up. I left my microphone and recording equipment in the office. But here's an A flat major scale. With the exception of my fingers slipped and played a crunchy note. Okay, so if I play a song in A flat major, so here's A flat major, you'd be like, that sounds fine, that works really well. But what if I played... You'd be like, something's going on here. We've left A flat major land. Or if I go back to a scale of A flat major and I play... you would know something's wrong there, that a mistake has been made, okay? You know this. Without reading a lick of music, you have been so trained and conditioned to what scale should sound like and what key should sound like without knowing it, okay? We do have two types of scales in Western culture, overarching, two types. If you take theory, you learn there are so many more, but the big ones you need to know about are major and minor, okay? And so we get these from a certain order of whole steps and half steps, okay? So a whole step is essentially no key in between. So if I were to, crudely draw a piano keyboard on here, okay, so here's a keyboard, and like here's two black keys, and then here's a group of three black keys. Okay, this is so horribly drawn. But like here's key C. Oh, that is terribly drawn. Let me try that again. Let me erase that. That's just awful. I should have copied and pasted a keyboard on here. So let me draw the black keys first, and then I'll draw the white keys. Okay, so here's a group of two black keys. Here's a group of three. And the piano follows this pattern of 2, 3. Okay, so here's key C, here's key D, here's key E, here's key F, key G, key A, key B, and here's key C. So here's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. I apologize to anybody out there who's critiquing my artistry right now. So a whole step would be like C to D is a whole step. Why is it a whole step? Because there's this key between. D to E is a whole step because there is this key in between. Okay? So here's our major scale already, C to D. Now, where things get a little bit tricky is E to F. E to F is actually a half step. Why, you ask? There's no key in between. There's no key in between. So white keys can be half steps. So look, there's a half step. And then as you can see, here's a whole step, here's a whole step, here's a whole step. And from B to C, that's a half step. So C is our white key major scale. Okay? It works out just perfectly like that. Now, if I were to continue on here, and I'm just going to add in a few more notes here. Let's see. Okay, so there's C, now here's D, E, F, G, A. Okay, I'm going to erase everything I've written down here because I've just showed you this scale. So here's C, D, E, F, G. Okay, so now the natural minor scale, a white key would be going from A to B, which is a whole step, half step, whole, whole, half, whole, and whole. Okay, so that's the white key minor scale. So C major and A minor share a relationship. A minor is the relative minor to C major. They're related by the interval of a minor third. Okay? So that's how that works. So how do we notate pitch? This is going to be our third video in this series. So we're going to come back and we're going to start with this lesson on pitch notation. If you guys have any questions, please let me know, and I'm happy to clarify as much as I can. And if I need to post another video, I will always be happy to do that for you. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.